Okay, we're going to take a look at cumulative frequency, relative cumulative frequency with this example here. So looking at the situation, I've already filled in the relative frequency, and relative frequency is the decimal version of a percent. So 22 out of 108 would be 0.204, or as a percent, you would say that that was a 20.4%. But a relative frequency is the decimal version of that. And so when we report data or distributions, sometimes we want the frequency, like the actual number of how many, or we want the relative frequency or percent frequency. But in this case here, this problem's asking for the cumulative relative frequency. But in order to do that, we first need to know what cumulative frequency is. So this here is a relative frequency. This is the cumulative frequency. And so to get this answer here, Y22 is cumulative, means it's another word for, I think you can say, accumulation. So that's where you gather up and keep accumulating and keep adding on to what you have already. So in this case here, 22, after the first category of data, there's 22 colleges. That's our total amount. So cumulative would also, again, is this idea of the total amount up to this point. And so after the next group is 65, the cumulative frequency in this case would be 87, because you're going to do 22 plus 65. And so then for the next category, what's your total frequency that you have up to this point? It would be 102 after the first three categories. So we keep adding on. We're just accumulating. We keep adding on to the total. So the next value here would be 106. And then here we don't accumulate. We don't gather or have any more. And so it just stays 106, 106, 106. And then this last one, you get two more, so the total amount is 108. And so you can see it matches up to our total. This is cumulative frequency. And then for cumulative relative frequency, it's the same idea. It's the accumulation of the percents, or these decimals. And so it's going to go in here. For the first one would be 204. And then the next one is we add 60 more percent, or the 0.062. So this would just be 0.806. We're accumulating. We're looking at the total percent up to this point. So now 80% of the colleges are within these first two groups. And then you just continue on. So this would be 945. And then you keep adding. You accumulate these. So 94%. You keep adding on here. So this would be 0.82. And then notice you'll continue with the same value all the way down until you finally get to this last one. And this last one ends up being, should be 1 for 100% once you add those up. So that's the cumulative relative frequency.